Hi y'all, Morgan from Madeira, USA here. We're joined today by Nancy Minnie, our lovely in-house embroiderer here at headquarters. Today she's going to cover our thread portfolio, everything from your standard classic rayon to glow-in-the-dark Luna and everything in between. You can see we've got a lot here. Chime in, let us know the different types of thread that you've worked with, and of course, if you have any questions, we will answer the best we can. I know we've got a lot to cover, so Nancy is going to dive right in.
Thank you, Morgan. Here we go. So Madeira has so many different classes of thread or groups or families, whatever you want to call them. Everybody knows about our classic rayon and our poly neon. Those are the ones that most people use on a regular basis. Certainly the 40 weight is your standard weight thread. And I'm not going to get into a lot of details on these. However, we have, that's rayon. It's super beautiful. The colors are gorgeous. I'll leave that there for now. Our rayon just comes in over 400 colors. You open that up and there's just so many colors to choose from. The shading that you can apply is pretty easily done by looking at your color cards. And then you look at your poly neon and that one has just as many colors.
Nice.
So whenever you have polyester involved, very often you get those fluorescent colors. So those are great. They're pretty hot right now. The other thing we have is the multicolors or the ombres, they're called in the polyester. So polyester has your 40 and two thinner weights, a 60 and a 75. And your rayon has your 40 and your 60 as well. But it also has some thicker threads as well. So we went over the classic rayon just a few weeks ago with Bryce, and she talked about those in detail. So I'm not going to get into too much detail with those. Remember maybe a couple months ago now, we did the thin threads. So your 60 and your 75 weight. So check back at the Facebook Lives, and you can get some more details about the 60 weight. All right, so let's move beyond. I should say, when it comes to thread, they come in two different put-ups generally, a large cone or a small spool. When it comes to rayon and poly, the 40 weight, you have the 5,500 yards or the 1,100 yards to choose from. And then the thinner the thread, the more you can get on a little guy. The thicker the thread, the less you get on one of these large cones. But those are generally the put-ups that are available. And it's also important to know that all of Madeira threads are Ocotex certified. And in general terms, they have their own certificates depending on which threads they are. And in general terms, that means that there are no harmful substances in any of the threads that Madeira USA or Madeira has. So those, if you need those can be located online as well.
Perfect, thank you.
So let's move on to some other threads. And the first one, I have them kind of set up in these little pods here. Our frosted matte, which is a 40 weight thread. It's 100% polyester. It does have a ceramic element into it, and that's what gives it that nice matte finish look to it. So it's not shiny. And because it's a 40 weight, you can just use your standard 7511 needle. So remember, the thread is what determines how big the needle is. Polyester, so of course we get those fluorescents in there. These are called kind of half cones because they have 2,700 yards on them. The little guys here have 1,100 yards on them.
Perfect.
So those are available in both, and you can see they work. The fluorescence is so bright. If you're looking to tone it down a little bit to get an earthy tone to it, you got some really nice colors there. There's so many pastels as well, so that yellow is really cute in that egg. And of course, we did a freestanding lace Facebook Live as well, so this thread works. I think this is the best looking thread for the freestanding lace because it looks more like a cotton. Because it doesn't have that shine to it and performs like a polyester. So that's kind of cool.
Perfect.
Frosted matte. Check those out if you haven't. That guy has its own color card as well. And look at all those colors.
Awesome. Yes, this is one of my favorite color cards.
Me too. And that fluorescent on the end gives you those bright colors to choose from.
We got a couple comments here. Frosted matte is great when you combine it with a standard poly neon to kind of give it some contrast. We agree. Let's see what else. Each thread type has its own color card, so that's really nice. It's a good reference.
Yep. Check the it has its own section online. It's right at one of the top tabs. It says color cards. Drop down. You can look at those, and they only cost $5. So that's a great bargain for what you're getting, and you got your every single color in there. So talking about another color card, we have our Sierra Metallic. 40 is the one that we carry here, and we're going to experience here. And the great news about this product is it's made with polyester. And because it's a polyester thread, you run it just like a polyester thread. It's a 40 weight, so you can use your standard 70/10 or 75/11 needle on that. So when it comes to slowing the machine down, even when I'm running just rayon or polyester, I don't run them at full speed. I probably run them more like, 800, 700, 750, thereabouts. Polyester, the Sierra Metallic, you can do that with this as well. Not only does it run really well, and kind of just swap it into the designs, which I did here. I think the best news about this thread is all the pretty jewel colors you can get out of there. So yes, it has all the golds and the silvers available. A lot of the other metals as well. But look at all those beautiful jewel tones in there. Somebody talked about mixing the frosted matte with the poly neon. Over here, I mixed the CR with the frosted matte.
Beautiful.
So the trees look very nice. Those birch trees look very realistic.
Yeah.
And then just the shininess of the leaves on that guy gave it a real nice contrast. And it's just so easy to run, this thread here. 75/11 needle. Put her in just about any design, and she'll run like a charm.
Awesome. We've got kind of a different question here, Nancy. Is polyester safe for repeated microwave use? Do you know?
So there is, so when you're talking about polyester, I'm going to assume we're talking about the regular polyneon, because the metallic qualities of this, you wouldn't put it in a microwave. So there are your washing and drying instructions that are inside here. So it probably depends on these heat elements here. So something like that, because it's really not as commonly, used in a microwave. Certainly, do some testing on your own. But those are the washing instructions. So as long as you're staying within those and not going higher than that, you should be fine.
Awesome.
Polyester not only, so it can be bleached. So it's got a real high color fastness to it. It can be bleached with diluted chlorine. It will withstand sun fading and all that. So that's probably your most durable thread when it comes to your standard embroidery thread.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. So I'm going to stand up and we'll do some super twist. Super twist is my absolute favorite thread. And just look at the sparkles that you can see on there. And you could do a design like this guy with the eyeshadow that looks like it has sparkles, which is so pretty. Or you could do the whole design in the super twists. So here we got, the orange, the green, the purple, that we did the whole design. A 90-14 needle is what you're going to use that for. And so let's look at those colors, Morgan. Look at all those super twist colors in there. Anything, you got your jewels, you got your gold, silvers, and then they get a little more pastel-y over here. And those multicolors are really nice, and they stitch out really well. So I have this guy here that I embroidered this little mask.
Yeah, I love that.
But the the pinks that show up in there, the yellows and the golds.
See if I can get the sparkles to show a little bit.
So I like to throw just about any thread into these freestanding lace. This particular one was digitized by Urban Thread for a 30 weight cotton thread. So I could easily put the 30 weight super twist in there.
Do you know, Nancy, will super twist work in serger loopers?
Serger loopers. So a serger is typically a construction machine, from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong. So you wouldn't want to, you can use this for decorative stitching. You just wouldn't want to use it for construction because it's not going to hold up to the wear and tear of a seam within a garment.
Perfect.
But if it's decorative, absolutely. I'm going to keep this color card around because that is not just for super twist. That's also for our FS metallics that we're going to take a look at. FS metallics have been around for quite a while, and the most versatile one is going to be your 40 weight thread, and you can simply toss that in with pretty much any design. And the nice thing, so this is a stock design, and simply just put the silver in there for the grill and the utensils and use the rayon for the black and white on that. These ones were a little more specifically digitized, and the fish over here has the nice golds and the browns in it. And if you want to make something specific show up, putting like the word coin and a metallic thread in this otherwise simple logo here really makes it stick out.
Yeah.
So that's a great opportunity there for that. We'll take a look at the colors that are available in that 40 weight. So the 40 weight, these are all your 40 weight in the FS, and it goes down there.
Yeah,
so
all the silvers, golds, bronze you need.
Yep, there's just so many different golds. If you can't find a gold there for your need, I don't know where else you're going to find it. But the other metallics, metals that are in there, like Morgan said, the bronze, the copper, and even the graphites and things like that are great as well. There's a small little version of, actually, I'm just going to mention how the 40 weight comes in the large cones, 5,500, or the small spools that are the 1,100. So if you're using a lot or a little, that's going to be a great metallic thread to use.
Perfect. So
we know in thread, the bigger the number, the smaller or the thinner the thread. So the 50 weight is great as well. Doesn't have quite as many colors, but it does have your basic silvers and still a good range of golds as well. But this guy was digitized with a really small, tight satin stitch that you were able to get some nice clarity and detail by using the thinner thread. I have another freestanding lace guy here. Our owl votive cover.
Oh, so cute.
But he worked out really well.
Yeah, that's perfect.
In that as well. So because this is a thinner thread, you can go a little smaller with your needles. So we can use a 65-9 needle here. You can stay with your 75-11 if you prefer. But if you need to get a little more clarity, then you can use that smaller guy. He's also available in cones and the small spools as well. Perfect for your 50 weight. So when you do get to your metallic threads, especially, anyways, what you want to do for your metallic threads is you definitely want to slow your machine down. When it comes to metallic threads, friction is the enemy. Certainly dry air, which creates a lot of static, is also going to cause trouble with your metallic threads. However, slowing the machine down, keeping the air quality in your embroidery shop you don't want a lot of humidity, but you don't want it to be really dry either. So you don't want that static. So anything that's friction causing, you want to reduce that when you're running your metallic threads, and that's going to keep it running a little smoother with less breaks. It's not going to go crazy and erratic. All right, so we have a couple more FSs that we're going to talk about. We're going to go a little thicker with our 30 weight. I have the bee that I did there.
Yeah.
I enlarged that design at the machine, so it kept the same amount of stitches, but made them bigger. And I was able to easily do this 30 weight, which is a much thicker thread than your 40 weight. And I was able to stitch that out with no problem. And then when it came to, a design, just because it's thicker, I think it just gives a little more definition. You can get, the feathers, detail within that design.
Yeah, it looks like a little bit of texture in there.
Yeah, and this particular white that was used in there is opalescent. It's called Diamond, but you can see it kind of has an opal look to it.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
You can see the pinks and the greens in there as well. This guy is a little bit, or a lot more heavy duty than your regular FS 40 and 50 because you can bleach this, you can stone wash, and it's going to withstand the abrasion that might happen on something that's being used a little more rugged. So it's not going to fade if you bleach it with the diluted bleach. So this is a great option if that's going to be the case with your end use.
Perfect.
This guy is a 30 weight, so we're going to use a 90-14 needle for that. One thing that I do want to point out is on most of the Madeira threads, there is a needle recommendation right on the front there.
Oh, perfect. How convenient, huh?
Yep, it is. We have charts online, but if you have the thread and it's in your hand, go ahead and take a peek at that, and it might tell you which needle size to use. All right, our last FS is our 20 weight. This stuff is very interesting looking because it has a black core, so it doesn't matter which color you're using for this, you're going to see a little bit of black in there. So this is a silver with black, that's a purple with black.
Yeah, it does look a little bit different, huh?
Yep. And that gives a really nice texture. I mean, this spider is so cute because he's got purple in him. But in just the way it was digitized and with a thicker thread, he has almost like a hairy look to him, which is a pretty great effect that you can do with that. This guy here was used with Burmalana, and the FS20 was put on top. So you have this really cool multicolor here that was used in this little heart here, the purple, and then a real light. Probably this guy here, the white there.
Yeah, what great variety.
It was, it was a great use of thick threads and using them together. All right. So he's a super thick one. A 90-14 needle might work for him. I would recommend, if your machine can do it without changing the timing, if you don't want to do that, you can use a 100/16 needle. For this guy, give it a little more room in that eye to let this real thick stuff go through. This stuff is great for the decorative seams as well.
Nancy, do you know what color was used for that spider?
For the 20, let's take a look. See if I can find him in here. So I'm going to say the 4220 here. Whoops, I'm in the wrong aisle here. That's the silver.
Okay.
Which is there. So it's a pretty cool look.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's 2 rows of colors there. You got the jewels, the golds,
yeah,
the
that's
silvers.
really nice to have. Thank you.
So that wraps up our FS metallic. I'm going to move these guys over as well so I can really utilize all my space over here. So many metallics to choose from. Certainly one of those is going to fit your needs and help enhance your logos. So check those out and give them a try. Give us a call. We can give you more information if you need it. So one thread that we have, and this is actually not it's not an embroidery thread per se. This is an anchoring thread. So it's very clear, going to be very hard to see. It's like a very, very thin fishing line, and it's called monofilament. Our name is Monolon, and this is an anchoring thread. So you would use this if you were attaching sequins You were going to do some cording to, kind of zigzag, hold down that cording to make a design with the cord. And you can embroider with this. We didn't do it on the spider there, but we have another one that has a spider with a spider's web, and we embroidered the spider's web out with that, so it looked very much.
Looks really cool.
It
Realistic.
does. Yep, definitely. So that guy's there, and he has like a real lot of yards on him. It's actually 15,000 meters, and I'm not good with math in my head, but for every 1,000 meters, it's 1,100 yards. So times that 15 by 11, and that's what you're going to have. A lot of thread on that guy. Firefighter thread is our fire resistant or flame resistant thread. And this is necessary if you're embroidering on something that's already flame resistant or fire resistant, and you need to make sure you're not putting anything on that isn't. The Firefighter flame resistant thread comes in 24 different colors. I've got the red, yellow, and orange here. That makes up the flame.
Nice. It looks like they've got some industries pointed out on the color card here where you may have to find those restrictions or specifications.
Absolutely. So your aeronautics, your racing, even your airplanes, and just anything. Electricians, where they have the sparks coming at them from time to time. Hopefully not too much, but absolutely. So you want to put those on. This guy is, so to make it the flame resistant, it is made of aramid, and those are fibers that are created by DuPont, the company that you might recognize. And because of the way that it's manufactured, we're going to lay this out, Morgan, and see if we can see how it looks a little bit hairy or fuzzy, for lack of another word. Okay. So this is a spun thread.
Oh, we can see it on the cone.
Yep. And so when it comes to rayon or polyester and most of our other threads, they're a continuous filament, which gives it a real nice, smooth feeling for the thread. But because this is fire resistant, it's spun. And because it's spun, it's a little fuzzy. It's a 40 weight thread. However, you want to make sure that you are using an 80-12 needle for that. So you want to go a little larger than your 75-11. And that just gives that fuzziness a little more room in the eye of the needle so it runs well. I have designs that are 40 weight thread, digitized for 40 weight thread. They run like a dream as long as you use that thicker needle, or bigger needle, I should say. And those come in the smaller spools and the larger cones.
Perfect.
So depending on what your needs are,
yeah, absolutely,
you would get those and take off with them. Firefighter. Certainly, when you need it, we got it for you. We also have backing and bobbins to go along with these as well, because again, you don't want to be adding anything to that flame resistant garment that is not also flame resistant.
The whole package.
We got the whole package. Luna is our glow in the dark thread. It is white and it glows green, which is really kind of cool. So we have this dandelion and a couple of butterflies there that was embroidered out. So it's a really nice kind of bright white.
Yeah.
So it looks beautiful as is. This is a one color design. When you put it under the light to kind of charge it, it turns that bright green. So I took a picture with my phone to show you. So
perfect.
We're not going to shut the lights off here today, but that really gives a great representation. Great representation for sure. It's approximately a 40 weight thread, and you can put it in most of your stock designs. That is a stock design, was not adjusted in any way, and it ran great. It is a bit of a rougher feeling thread, so you certainly want to slow the machine down. I would use a 75-11 needle for this, but if you're having a little trouble, especially if you slowed it down, you got your tension set well, try an 80-12 if the 75-11 is still giving you trouble, and you're going to see it run really well. That is a very fun one to play with.
I bet.
Let's see, we'll do Burmalana. We have Burmalana right here. Burmalana and Burmalana Co. are the 12-way embroidery threads that are very thick. Let's see if we can get that on there, Morgan. We'll see how thick it is on the felt. So she's super thick at a 12-way. And very hairy. Again, this is a spun thread, so that's where you get that hairiness from. And the Burmalana is a wool blend, and it's blended with acrylic, so it's a wool acrylic blend. The Burmalana Co. is a cotton blend, and that's a cotton acrylic blend. They are pretty much interchangeable. If you have a need, if you have a need for a cotton thread, or if you have a need for a wool thread, you can pick and choose whichever one you want. I tend to find that I blend them together just because once you look at both, so these are all the Burmalanas, and then you have a few rows of the Burmalana Co.
Okay. But
together, that's a ton of colors that you can work with. So because it's a 12-weight, we're going to use a 116 needle. And Morgan is focusing in on Santa Claus. So this was done, so the red and the green and his face are all done in rayon. His hat, pom-pom, and beard and mustache were done in the Burmalana Co. And the nice thing about that guy is he can be brushed and brushed and brushed till he gets nice and furry.
I was trying to see if I could see the detail here.
Yeah. So you get some great dimension when you do brush it. That design is from Embroidery Library. They have a bunch of these 12-weight designs on their website. It's the way to find them is you just search thick thread, and they have flowers and ones that you can brush, bunch of different designs that you can use with this thick thread. And it goes for the Classic Rayon 12 as well. You can kind of interchange them because they are both a 12 weight thread, very thick. So yeah, 100 needle. Burmalana itself, the wool blend, I have a couple examples here that you could do. So that's a filigree type design. This is kind of a design that you can just keep repeating to do a nice border with it.
Nice.
So you can really see the design with that thick thread. If you want, you can actually create what's called, the name is escaping me right now. I'm always behind camera when that happens. So this is what you create when you're making those letters for the Letterman jackets. So this was digitized to do this, and they use the Burmalana to do that with. So you can do that as well. And I have confidence that that name will come back to me.
Probably as soon as we're done the video, huh?
You got it. So the nice thing about the Burmalana or the Burmalana Co. is you can embroider designs that look hand embroidered. So this is very much like what a hand embroidered design would look like.
Absolutely.
It would take you hours upon hours to do this by hand, and maybe minutes to do this by machine. So
yeah,
it's a really it's a very cool thread. So we have one more thread to cover, and don't know if you've heard this, but we have reflective thread. So this has been something that has been asked for years and years and years. And companies have come out with this reflective thread that really doesn't sew all that well. It's really more the stuff that's out there, not this, but the other stuff that's out there is really more for decorative seams. And that's the most you can do with it for the most part. This is literally the first reflective thread that I have stitched with, and it sews out just like an embroidery thread. So it's got those little glass particles in there that are on there. It's magic how they do it in my head. And sure enough, I think we have this on our website right now on one of the banners.
Yeah.
And we show how it does reflect. You can even see how it's reflecting here.
I wonder if I could turn on my flash really quick.
Yeah, give it a try.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
That looks great. And the cone itself reflects as well. Wow.
Yep. So this stuff, I mean, this was just keyboard lettering. I did it on a cap. So, I mean, I probably gave it its challenge with, you know, instead of just embroidering something really nice that was digitized really well on a flat piece of fabric or whatnot, and that guy stitched out beautifully. So, is this for safety? No, it is not. And that's really important that you know that, because yes, it's reflective. Yes, it's going to enhance. You know, if you're running down the road and that's on your head and the lights from a car come and you're in the dark, they're going to see it. It's not intended to be for safety. It's really intended to be an embellishment for enhanced visibility. So that being said, you can still embroider on a safety garment that already has the 3M tape on it. So in the high visibility yellow green there. But if you want to add something on it like I did here, I just added the Madeira logo above the little pocket. So maybe it says Morgan in there because she's doing her flag duty. And we can get a little more visibility with that. But this is the stuff that makes your garment safe.
Perfect.
And visible.
Nice.
So that concludes the Madeira family of all of our threads.
Now, Nancy, you spoke a lot about some different weights of thread. We have a lot of literature online that helps you to determine what needle types you'll need for each thread type. And then also you mentioned the thread description itself will have the needle that you should use anyway.
Absolutely.
So it's all there. If you have any questions, customer sales and support can help you out. But it's all right there at your fingertips. But I think that was a pretty great overview of what Madeira carries. Nancy, thank you. Everything we talked about today, including the color cards, needles, and the threads, of course, are available at madeirausa.com. Or if you'd like to call in to 800-225-3001 to add some variety to your next order, you can do that as well. That's all for now. Thank you so much for your time and attention. And check back in the next couple weeks and we'll have more videos on embroidery tips, tricks, and techniques. Thank you, guys.
Bye.